Hey everybody, welcome to my latest Stories in a Song video here on YouTube. Well, today this video is a few days in the making, but here I am today to give it all to you. This song that I'm going to do today is called Auctioneer by Leroy Van Dyke. It was released in 1956 and co-written by Buddy Black and Leroy Van Dyke. Well, this is my second Leroy Van Dyke song on my YouTube playlist, my karaoke songs, and my 276th video on there in total. The first one that I did on Leroy Van Dyke was called If a Woman Answers, Hang Up the Phone. That was quite a while back that I did that one. But from my rounding up of all the things Auctioneer that I have in my possession for today's video, I see that my connection to the lyrics of this song goes back to at least 2013, when I printed off one of the two different sets of lyrics that I have for the song. Actually, my connection to the song goes back much further than that. My first recollection of hearing the song, in a way that has stuck with me, is on one of those, what I call, rhymin' shows, from the Nashville Network in the late 90s and early 2000s, which I've mentioned a few times on my videos. I remember Van Dyke introducing the song by saying, "It's kind of a love ballad," unquote, quote unquote. He then launched into the auction speak intro, as in, "Hey, well, all right, sir, here we go there, and what are we going to give for him?" And then he stopped short, and he said to the audience of country music legends that was there, like himself, I quote, "It's done with mirrors," unquote. I've had it on a VHS tape for many years and watched it many times with my mom while she was alive. And then after she passed away in 2014, I didn't watch it again, or any of our other shows that we used to watch together, for years until 2019, when I was competing in a karaoke contest at Dooley's bar here in Miramichi. The contest had been going on for, about 6 weeks or so already, and I had tried every style of song that I could think of, trying to qualify for the semifinals without success. After the contest had gone on for the 7th out of 10 weeks, I think, and once again I didn't qualify, I decided to try something crazy during the open practice session at the end of the night. I would take a shot at performing Van Dyke's Auctioneer. After I finished the song, Louise Carroll Young, the organizer of the contest, said something like, "Wow, that was amazing, John. You should sing that again next week in the contest." So I said I only did it for a joke, but okay, I'll do it. So I went home and I dug up the tape of the old Ryman show, and I spent time each day for the next week going over and over Van Dyke's performance until I felt that I had learned it well enough to do it in the contest. I was like, "Oh, wrong, do it again, wrong, do it again." Just like Pink Floyd. Eventually I did get it good enough to do it in the contest, I thought, but it was an emotional experience for me as well, because I hadn't watched any of the music shows that my mom and I had used to watch since she had passed away. And to this day I have very rarely ever watched any of those shows, although I still have all the tapes and I could watch them at any time I wanted to. But I went back to Dooley's the next week for the contest and sang the song, and I finally qualified for the semifinals. Then I sang it again in the semifinals and qualified for the finals. In the finals I sang it once again, and I won first place in the whole thing. Also to this day, Auctioneer is the only song I've ever sung in a contest that I actually actively practiced beforehand. I don't do any songs full voice ahead of time, either for these videos or out at the bar on karaoke nights. But now here's a little bit about the song Auctioneer. Auctioneer, also known as The Auctioneer and The Auctioneer's Song, is a country novelty song. The song is notable for its interspersal of auction chants. Van Dyke was inspired to write the song from his own experiences as an auctioneer and those of his second cousin, Ray Sims. He wrote it while stationed in Korea during the Korean War, and first performed it to troops on the same bill as Marilyn Monroe. After finishing his service, Van Dyke entered the song in a Chicago talent contest, it gained him a record contract with Dot Records. The song talks of a young Arkansas boy who would skip school and visit a local auction barn. Becoming mesmerized by the auctioneer's chant, he decides that he wanted to be an auctioneer, regularly practicing the chant behind the family barn. Though his parents are initially displeased with his career choice, they eventually relent. But, not wanting their family name to be tarnished because of poor auctioneering skills, they send him to auction school to properly learn the trade. He returns home a full-fledged auctioneer. Gradually, he becomes a top-quality auctioneer to a point where he ends up purchasing an airplane just to keep up with his sudden business demands. Van Dyke later stated that the story was largely true. The only artistic license he took with it was changing his cousin's home state from Missouri to Arkansas for scansion purposes. Quote, nothing rhymed with Missouri, unquote. Co-writer Van Dyke, a little bit about him and his songwriting history. Well, there's not a whole lot there. He has co-written just one song that has been released by more than one artist. It's Auctioneer, originally by Leroy Van Dyke in September 1956. And now a little bit about the other co-writer, Black. Buddy Black, that is. Co-writer Black was Leroy Van Dyke's manager. There is doubt that he actually co-wrote the song. But because he was named on the original single as a co-writer, I will consider him a co-writer and tell you all the information I could dig up about him. And that's not much either. Secondhandsongs.com calls Black an American songwriter. Like Van Dyke, co-writer Black has co-written just one song that has been released by more than one artist, and we all know which one that is now, so I won't repeat it again here. On Discogs.com, another website that I've looked into, before Auctioneer came along, Black was credited as the writer of a tune called Time Will Tell, released as the B-side of From the Vine Came the Grape, on Dot Records in 1953 as by the Hilltoppers, featuring Jimmy Sacca. And after he and Van Dyke are credited as co-writers of the words of a tune called 45, which appeared on Machine Gun Fellacio's 2000 album on Sputnik Records called Bring It On. No word on whether this tune is Auctioneer under a different title. But that is some deep digging right there, folks. I don't give up easy when I hit what appears to be a dead end. I hope you appreciate my efforts to bring you the most complete information possible. Now a little bit about the original recording of Auctioneer. The original recording of Auctioneer was made by Leroy Van Dyke in September 1956. No word on who produced the recording or which recording studio it was made in. The only notation on the original single release is that an Andy Nelson played guitar on the recording. The single was released on the Dot Records label, also in September 1956, with B-side I Fell in Love with a Ponytail, written by Black. So there is one more song that Black wrote. On the single, Van Dyke's last name is spelled with a capital V and the rest lowercase. Capital D with the rest lowercase. Capital V, capital D, the Van and the Dyke capitalized and the rest lowercase, and all one word, as opposed to the usual spelling of two words, each one capitalized. In his first name on the single, the R is capitalized, whereas the common spelling of it has only the L capitalized. Although today Auctioneer is considered a country record, it first appeared on the Billboard Most Played in Juke Boxes Top 40 chart, entering on December 8, 1956, and charting for 7 weeks into early 1957, peaking at number 19. It also reached number 21 on Billboard's Best Sellers in Stores chart, and number 29 on the Top 100. It was his first of 3 career top 40 pop hits. And on the countryside, the single entered the Billboard Most Played Country and Western by Jockeys chart on January 5th, 1957, charting for 2 weeks and peaking at number 9. It also reached number 10 on the Most Played C&W in Juke Boxes chart. It was also his first of 7 career top 40 country hits. Originally, the song only came out as a single. It didn't appear on a Leroy Van Dyke album until his July 1962 Mercury album, Movin Van Dyke, on which it was track 7. This was Van Dyke's debut studio album. In Cashbox Magazine's November the 24th, 1956 issue, there was a review of the Auctioneer single. It stated, quote, "A clever new country-flavored novelty, setting an auctioneer's cries to music, is refreshingly handled by Leroy Van Dyke. Refreshing idea colorfully presented by the talented newcomer. Strong deck for both the pop and country fields," unquote. The single sold over 2.5 million records. Van Dyke's cousin, Ray Sims, whose life Van Dyke wrote about in the song, is a National Auctioneers Association Hall of Famer. Van Dyke had the lead role of a budding country music performer in the 1967 movie What Am I Bid, in which Sims played himself as an auctioneer. And now a little bit about the cover versions of Auctioneer. 22 cover versions of Auctioneer have been released to date. 2 of those are in Czech, written by Michael Bukovic. 1 is in Finnish, written by Harry Laakkonen. 1 is in German, written by Lonnie Dale, and 18 are in English. Of the 18 English ones, I've only heard of 4 of the artists who have covered it. The first of those is by Canadian singer-songwriter Gordon Lightfoot on March 17, 1980, on his Warner Brothers Records album Dream Street Rose. Lightfoot recorded this cover first in 1964 on the Canadian promotional album Folk Songs, which was only released for distribution among Canadian radio stations and was not available for the general public. I tried singing Gordon Lightfoot's cover version a couple of times at Jack's Bar here in Miramichi, but after singing Van Dyke's original, I just couldn't get into Lightfoot's version as well. I think it would be very difficult to improve on the original unless another trained auctioneer with a singing voice as good as Van Dyke's comes along and releases it. The second artist who I've heard of who has covered Auctioneer is also Canadian. That is bluegrass music band the Dixie Flyers in 1984 on their Stony Plain album New Horizons. Then the third one is by American singer, songwriter, musician, and activist Joan Baez with Bill Wood in September 1993 on Baez's Vanguard album Rare, Live, and Classic. And the fourth one is by American country singer, songwriter from Texas Casey Musgraves on July 16, 2002 on her self-named label album Movin On. 6 other cover versions of Auctioneer in English are by New Zealand country music singer from Hamilton, Rusty Greaves in 1960 on his Zodiac Records EP Yodeling Buckaroo. That was the first cover version that was ever made. By American old-timey bluegrass group formed by a group of Harvard University students, the Charles River Valley Boys, in 1962 on their Mount Auburn self-released album Bluegrass and Old-Timey Music. Then by possibly Canadian country singer Floyd Turcotte in 1964 on his Banff album Country. The album's Canadian, so I was assuming that the artist is also Canadian. Although, sad to say, as a Canadian, I've never heard of Floyd Turcotte. But then we have by our Australian disc jockey, recording artist, and radio and television personality John Laws meets Charlie Gauld. Under the name John Laws, he recorded this in 1964 on his W&G Records album John Laws Meets Charlie Gauld. By Canadian country music artist from Whitfield, Ontario, related to the Prescotts and Browns of the Canadian country group Prescott Brown, Irwin Prescott in 1966 on his Banff album Irwin Prescott Sings. And again, I'm sad to say I've never heard of him, although I've heard a lot about Prescott Brown over the years. And finally by American singer Brenda Byers in October 1968 on her MTA Records album as the title track and single with B-side Rainbows and Roses. That was originally by Roy Dresky. And there are 8 more English cover versions of Auctioneer. Now here's a little bit about Leroy Van Dyke. Leroy Van Dyke was born Leroy Frank Van Dyke on October the 4th, 1929. And he is now 95 years old, still alive today. He was born in Mora, Missouri, in the central part of the state, about 16 miles south of Sedalia. To this day, he lives on his 1,000-acre ranch near Sedalia. As a young man, he worked as a newspaper reporter. He served in the U.S. Army in the early 1950s and is a Korean War veteran. He, like his cousin Ray Sims, worked as an auctioneer. and like Sims is a member of the National Auctioneers Association Hall of Fame. He appeared on Red Foley's TV shows as a cast member in the late 1950s on Ozark Jubilee and the Grand Ole Opry. Van Dyke lived in Spencer, Wisconsin as a young person and graduated from the University of Missouri, majoring in agricultural journalism as well as being a member of Farmhouse Fraternity. He has been active in the music business from 1956 to the present. In his nearly 70-year career, Van Dyke has recorded more than 500 songs, dozens of them making the charts. Van Dyke was co-host with Bill Mack of the Southern Baptist Radio TV Commission-produced Country Crossroads radio show for 10 years, and was joined by a third co-host, Jerry Clower. I remember listening to Bill Mack late nights on WJR radio out of Detroit with his Midnight Cowboy trucking show. Show for truckers with country music on it. Let's see here. Van Dyke performs in the country, honky-tonk, and rockabilly genres. He plays guitar. He has recorded for the Wing, Mountain Dew, Warner Brothers, Cap, Sun, Plantation, Audiograph, MGM, and Harmony labels, in addition to Dot and Mercury. Van Dyke continues a performance schedule to this day. He is, as far as I know, at 95, the oldest country singer still performing. I can't think of any that are older. Even Willie Nelson's not as old as that. He's active in many music industry organizations, and as a sideline, raises premium quality Arabian mules. All aspects of his business, Leroy Van Dyke Enterprises, are managed by his wife Gladys, a former legal secretary and court reporter. Their son Ben plays lead guitar in all Van Dyke performances. 138 solo records were released on Leroy Van Dyke between 1956 and 1992, plus one record under the artist name The Leroy Van Dyke Show. His discography includes 24 albums and 20 singles. In 1967, Van Dyke was awarded the Founding President's Award, formerly the Connie B. Gay Award, from the Country Music Association. Van Dyke had one number one hit on the country charts, and that was Walk On By in 1961. I'll have that song on a future video too. But for today, I'm going to sing Auctioneer. This thing, it's like it's like riding a bull or running a 100-yard dash, I think. Right out of the gate, it's you got to be right on it right away. So wish me luck on this thing. It's been a while since I sang it, but I'm going to give it a try. All right, here we go with Auctioneer. Oh boy, let's do this. The Auctioneer, as made famous by Leroy Van Dyke, co-written by Buddy Black and Leroy Van Dyke. Let her rip. Woohoo! Hey, little rats, so here we go there. What are you going to give for 'em? I have a $600 down here, now 10, and now 25, and now 35, and now 30, now 50, now 60, now give me 60, then 75, 75, now $85, and buy 'em there. There was a boy in Arkansas who wouldn't listen to his mom when she told him that he should go to school. He'd sneak away in the afternoon, take a little walk, and then pretty soon you'd find him at the local auction bar. Well, he'd stand and he'd listen carefully, then pretty soon he began to see how the auctioneer could talk so rapidly. He said, oh my, it's do what I've got to learn that auction cry, gonna make my mark and be an auctioneer. $25 bidder now, $30, 30, will you give me 30, make it 30 bid on a $30, will you give me 30, who'll bid a $30 bid? $30 bidder now, 35, will you give me 35, make it 35, bid a 35, who would have bid it at a $35 bid? Woo! As time went on, he did his best, and all could see he didn't jest. He practiced calling bids both night and day. His pap would find him behind the barn, just working up an awful storm as he tried to imitate the auctioneer. Then his pap said, son, we just can't stand to have a mediocre man selling things at auction using our good name. I'll send you off to auction school, and then you'll be nobody's fool, and you can take your place among the best. $35 bidder now, $40, 40, will you give me 40, make it 40 bidders on the $40, will you give me 40, who'll bid a $40 bid? $40 bidder now, 45, will you give me 45 to make it 45, bid a 45, who would have bid it at a $45 bid? So from that boy who went to school there grew a man who played it cool. He came back home a full-fledged auctioneer. And the people came from miles around just to hear him make that rhythmic sound that filled their hearts with such a happy cheer. His fame spread out from shore to shore. He had all he could do and more. Had to buy a plane to get around. Now he's the tops in all the land. Let's pause and give that man a hand, for he's the best of all the auctioneers. $45 bidder now, $50, 50, will you give me 50, make a 50 bidder, only $50, will you give me 50, who'll bid a $50 bid? $50 bidder now, 55, will you give me 55, make a 55 bid, 55, sold that hog for a $50 bill. Hey, well, all right, sir, open the gate and let them out and welcome, boys. Here we come, allotting up 29 in, what are we going to give for? I'm 25, ought to get a 35 now, 50, make a 50, bid only 50, now 16, you get a 60, now 75, now 85, now 95, 100, now 25, now 75, now 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, to 6, to 7, now $800, buy them there. Woo! Sold to you and everybody out there today. Oh my goodness, that was some fun right there, all right. Auctioneer, Leroy Van Dyke from 1956-57, woo! That's probably the fastest song I've ever sung in my life, but it sure is a lot of fun. I hope you all enjoyed that song. I sure did enjoy it singing it for you. And I want to thank you all for watching and listening, and I'll be back with another video. Can't tell you exactly when that's going to be because of the way these things are going lately, but the next song I'm going to be doing is called A Boy Named Sue, a Johnny Cash song that I also did at that karaoke contest at Dooley's back in 2019. All right. Until next time, I'll say have a good day and bye for now.